One of our clients is spending close to 6 figures a month on Facebook ads to generate leads and uses our AI agent to engage them within seconds. So this AI agent answers all the typical questions, and it then transfers the qualified prospects to their team of live experts to close deals and update their CRM instantly after. But there was a problem, and that was that the AI agent wasn't getting any smarter. It wasn't learning from the successful calls that the experts were having. And the only way to improve the knowledge base was by manually listening to those calls. We needed a way to take the successful calls that turned into closed deals and train the agent so that it would just become smarter and smarter. And so this right here is our solution and how we fixed it. So now all they have to do is upload their best call recordings to Google Drive, and the AI's knowledge base is instantly updated through Pinecone. So we're using N8N. The process is seamless, it's scalable, and ensures that the AI agent gets smarter over time. So in this video, I'm going to walk you through how you can get started with N8N. We're going to be building out this entire process from scratch. I'm going to be showing you how to set up the Google Drive uploads so that you can instantly improve your AI agent's knowledge base, and how you can connect your AI agent to a vector database like Pinecone. And if you want this exact same setup with these two blueprints without the hassle of building them from scratch, then you can join our community, the No Code Nation, where I'm giving this template away completely for free to the top contributors every single week. And if you're a business owner looking to streamline your operations using AI, then feel free to book into a call down below, and we can see if we're a good fit to work together. And with that being said, let's jump right in and show you how we built this. So we're going to come in here, we're going to add our first step. And to start, we're just going to trigger manually. You can see that we can run it on a schedule, on form submission, on webhooks, which is what we're going to be connecting it to after in a separate workflow. But for now, we're just going to be triggering this manually. We're going to toss in a Google Drive here. So we're going to come in here. It's going to be download a file, and we're going to have to create a new credential. And one of the cool things is that they do have really great Google Drive docs or documentations on pretty much anything. Okay, so we're going to come into the Google Cloud Console. I'm going to be doing this all from scratch so you can just follow along. So you can see right here, we are in the Google Cloud Console right now. So the first thing that we're going to have to do is either create or select a project. So just come on here, click create. We're going to go new project, and you can name it whatever you want. So I'm going to name mine Target Dial, and we're going to go ahead and click create. Now you can see it's creating that project. In a second, when it's done, we will be able to select that project right here. So you can see the creation is still in progress. Now we can come in here and select that project. So now we've just entered into that project. The next thing we want to click is APIs and services. And then from within there, we are going to search for Google Drive, and we can see it right here, the Google Drive API. That's the one that we want to connect to. And we're going to go ahead, we're going to hit enable. Okay. Now on the left-hand side, we see this OAuth consent screen. So we're going to have to go ahead and set that up since this is our first time. We can go ahead and choose internal as the user type and hit create. Now internal is only going to be available to users within your organization versus external is anyone with a Google account. Now here you can name your app, and then you can put in your own email as the user support email. And then under developer contact information, you will also add your email. And then under the authorized domain section, you can either choose to self-host or you can use N8N. For this example, I'm going to be using N8N. So go ahead and just copy and paste N8N Cloud, and we can hit save and continue. Now, we don't need to set any scopes for here. We can just go ahead and hit save and continue. Then we'll have a summary, and that is pretty much it. We have completed our OAuth consent screen, and we can go back to the dashboard. Okay, now we're going to click on credentials. Then we're going to click on create credentials and OAuth client ID. Now for the application type, we want to choose web application, and you can see that Google automatically generates your name. So we can go ahead and change this as well. Okay, then we're going to do an authorized redirect URI right here. And that is going to be coming from our N8N workflow. So you can see right here, we have the OAuth redirect URL. So we can go ahead, click to copy that. Then we'll come back in here and we'll paste it. Then we can go and click create. Once you've hit create, immediately after, you're going to get prompted with your client ID and client secret, or you can click on the edit button right here, and that will pull those up. And all we're going to do is drop that into the client ID and the client secret within N8N. Lastly, we're going to sign in with the button at the bottom, and it should now say connected. The window can be closed. And now we've successfully connected to Google Drive. And so you can see right here, the resource, we can choose a file, we can choose a folder, right? There's a lot of different options here. So for now, we're just going to do a file for this example. Okay, now I've chosen that knowledge base. And if we want, we can hit test step. and we should see the output from that knowledge base. And here is the file. And it's important to note that this is in binary, because if we look at the JSON request content here, or the output, there is nothing, it's blank. So we need to specify in a later step when we're updating our Pinecone vector database that this will be in binary and not JSON. So next up, we're going to add in a Pinecone vector store. So now we are going to choose add documents to the vector store because that's what we want to do. And once again, we're going to have to create a new credential and connect to Pinecone and access their API. So once again, they have documents, but we're just going to head over to Pinecone right here, and we can just sign up for a new account. So once you log in, you'll see that an API key has been generated. So we're going to go ahead, we're going to copy and save that somewhere, because after you close this box, you won't be able to have access to it again. So in my case, I've already set one up, but to give you an idea, let's say we named it chatbot, we'd hit create key, and you can see that your chatbot API key has been created. So we'll go ahead, we'll copy that, and we can head back into our workflow. You go create new credential, you'd paste in that API key and hit save. All right. And now you should see that you currently don't have a Pinecone index. So we're going to go ahead and we're going to create one. And so on your homepage, you'll see create index. You just hit begin setup. So you're going to want to give it a name. So let's say we call it chatbot. You're also going to want to choose the text embeddings 3 small as your configuration. And then you can choose any of these cloud servers. We're going to go with AWS, Virginia, and then you can just go ahead and create that index. So after that, you should be able to pop back into here and you should be able to choose your Pinecone index. All right. So once we've made that connection to the Pinecone index, the other thing that you can do is come down here into add option and click on Pinecone namespace. And you can just give your namespace a name. So in my case, I'm naming it after your client, but you can really name this whatever you want. And then once that is done, you now have to connect your embeddings and you have to connect your document loader. So for the document loader, we're using a default data loader. And it's important here that we specify that the type of data is binary, because in the previous step, the output is binary. It's not actually in JSON format. So in order to be able to access that, we need to specify that the type of data that is being loaded into it is of binary type. Then you can set the load to all input data, and we're going to set this to automatically detect by MIME type. And then you can just toss in a recursive character text splitter and set the chunking size to 1000 and leave everything else the same. And then lastly, you're going to need to add your embeddings. So we're using OpenAI. So just connect to your account and then make sure that we choose the same model that we did as our Pinecone vector database, which is the text embedding 3 small. Awesome. So now that is set up. And so now if we hit test workflow right here, you can see that it's now working. It's loading that information into our vector database. You can see that the workflow has executed successfully. And if we come into our namespace, we now see that we have 25 records that have just been submitted. And so here are all the different chunks that it was able to create, the different values, and how the LLM will be able to go and retrieve those. Okay, awesome. So now we have our vector database that is uploaded, but right now it's only when we click test the workflow. And so next we're actually going to be connecting our voice agent. And so what you're going to do is come into your retail agent first. We're going to add a new function. I called mine N8N, and you can just click here, and the description is answer the user's questions by querying the knowledge base. And then we're going to point it to the production webhook. So we're going to go and create that right now. So we'll create a new workflow, and then we're going to add the first step. First step is going to be webhook. And then we just want to change the HTTP request to post. So we'll actually take the test URL first, just so that we can listen for a test event. And you're just going to put that in right here. And then I just had this simple JSON parameter, which is saying, the question, this is the question asked by the user, and it's required in order to trigger this custom function. So now that we have that filled out, we can test out our LLM, and we can ask it, what are your current promos? And now if I listen for a test event, we should get an error, but this should have fired. And because right now there's no respond to webhook node in the workflow, what we're actually going to do is just change this to immediately, just so that we get some information passed through here. So we'll listen to the test event again. And we're just going to say, can you check again? And now this should fire, and you can see that we get an output. So what is the question? What promotions is GoLime currently running for water heaters? Perfect. Okay, so now that we got that information passed through here, the next thing we're going to do is add in an AI agent module. So we're going to choose the tools agent. We are going to change this to define below. You can come in here, click on schema, and you're going to find that question and just drag and drop it in right here. And so now the text is going to be the question, which is going to be the query for the knowledge base. And then we're also just going to toss in a little system message, and we're going to say, keep your responses succinct and respond in 1 to 2 sentences max. Now, we're also going to have to connect it to a chat model. So we're going to come in here. We're going to connect it to our OpenAI chat model. In this case, I'm just using GPT-4o mini, but you can choose any model that you want. And then we are going to use a tool. That tool is going to be our vector store. So vector store question answer tool. Go ahead, grab that. Data name, I just called my knowledge base. And the description is going to be retrieve information on the company to answer user question. And now we need to add a model as well. So I'm using OpenAI again. So this is set to GPT-4o. Then we need to choose the vector store. So the vector store, we're going to connect it to our Pinecone vector store. Just choose your Pinecone API that we've already connected to. We're going to set this to retrieve, choose the index that you created, and then add in Pinecone namespace and make sure it is the same namespace as what was set earlier. And then lastly, we need to add in embeddings. So we're going to add in the embeddings OpenAI and make sure that the model is set to text embedding 3 small like we had prior. Awesome. So now that we have all this configured, the last portion that we need is just to respond back with information. So we're going to add in a webhook response. We're going to respond with text, and it is going to be the JSON output. So what we can do now is come back here. We're going to test this step. It's going to search our Pinecone database. It's going to retrieve with information. There we go. So now we have our output, and we can hop into respond to webhook and drag this output into here. And now it's going to respond back with that answer. And so then lastly, the final step is to pop back into this webhook, change respond from immediately to using respond to webhook node. And now that that is done, we should be able to just hit test workflow, come into our AI agent, and we can ask it, what promotions are you currently running? We'll send this, and now you can see that this is going to hit this test call URL. So now it's working. It's hit the vector store. It's coming up with the answer. And in a second, it's going to respond back with that information. And now we get the output. Right now we got water heater tanks starting at $19.97 a month. Awesome. So now it's been able to actually go and generate that response for us. And so lastly, now we need to connect this to Google Drive so that whenever someone uploads a call recording, it'll take that call recording, create a Q&A, and then instantly upload it to our Pinecone vector store so that we have a knowledge base or an AI agent that is consistently learning based on the best call recordings within your organization. Okay, and so then lastly, we're going to add in the portion which will take new files. So we're going to put on changes involving a specific folder, right? We can set the poll to every minute, every hour, every day. It doesn't really matter. Let's do every minute just for this example, and we'll come back and change it. So changes involving a specific folder. I'll go ahead, I'll create a new folder. This folder is going to be called Bill Lime. You can choose that folder, and it'll be when a file is created. Okay guys, so I went ahead and recorded some sample data, and this sample data is outside their current knowledge base that I know won't be contained within their knowledge base, and we're going to see how the outcome is. So it's talking about a new subscription plan that's called Eco Plus or Eco Cool Plus. So it doesn't exist. So we're going to take that call recording, we're going to drop it into our Google Drive in that folder, and then it's going to be when file created. And we're going to go ahead and fetch a test event. Now you can see, grab that file extension. There it is, right? It's called recording 3. It's gone and it's grabbed recording 3 right here, recording 3. So we're going to go ahead within audio interactions right here. We're going to choose transcriber recording. We're connected to our OpenAI account. The resource is audio. We can specify the language of the audio file. So we're going to use the Canadian English one. So actually before that, guys, we're going to have a Google Drive download a file. So we're going to download that file first. Operation is going to be download. So we can scroll down right here. It's going to be download by ID. And here you can see the ID of the file recording. So we'll just grab that, drop it in here. You can go ahead and test that step, see that it works. Boom. We now have that data. Then the next thing that we want to do is transcribe that recording. So I think we should be good with just that. We're going to go ahead and test that step now. There you go. So I just had to change the language of the audio file. Now it's successfully gone is transcribe that. So then the last step of this process is really we just want to connect it to our Pinecone vector store. And so go ahead and load that in, right? Just hit plus. We're going to load in the Pinecone vector store, connect it through the same API. The Pinecone index is going to be the same. And then we are going to add the option for the Pinecone namespace and just make sure that it's the same Pinecone namespace. And then we need to add in the embeddings. So same thing here, OpenAI account. We're choosing the text embedding 3 small. And then we're going to add in the default data loader. The type of data here, we're going to set to JSON because that's what we specified in the previous step. We're going to load all the input data and then add a recursive text splitter with the same chunk size. And then that portion is done. So now whenever you upload high quality call recordings, they'll push directly to your Pinecone vector store. And so really the last thing that we have to do is just test our AI agent to see if this now works. So we're going to ask it, what is your Eco Cool Plus model priced at? And now we should see if we test this workflow, that's probably already executing in the background. Okay, so I just redid it. Now it's running through there. And now you can see that the Eco Cool Plus water heater starts at $2,200 plus HST, or you can finance it starting at $49 a month. So you can see it's incredibly powerful because now what we can do is whenever we have successful calls from our call center and we want to improve our agent, we can simply drop that recording in here. It's going to look on a minute-by-minute basis, transcribe that recording, update our existing knowledge base. And now every single time we have a new conversation, as long as we're updating it with successful calls, the AI agent only becomes smarter and smarter. And so I hope you got immense value out of this. If you did, I would really appreciate a subscribe. It's free. It helps support the channel and allows me to continue making videos like this for you. If you're looking to join a community of like-minded individuals learning how to implement AI for their business, we're at 326 members and going strong. And I look forward to seeing you in there and contributing. And with that being said, I'll catch you on the next one. Peace.